Hello and welcome to Stampin' on the Hill. I'm Deb Keyes, and I wanted to let you know that in April, I realize it's only March, but in April, Stampin' Up! Is going to be changing their benefits program, which is a good thing for you. Your hostess benefits that you get from buying product will be handled a little bit differently. You'll have longer to use them. Um, but I think you'll like it. The details of the changes are going to be in the newsletter, as far as they're going to make me aware. So they'll be in the April newsletter. So if you don't already, be sure to subscribe and make sure you read those details. Today, we are talking about watercoloring. So let's just jump into watercoloring and I'll show you what I've got going on. There's several different ways to add color, and I have watercolor pencils, I have blender pens, and I have the water painters. Water painters, we're going to deal with these a little bit later. The water painters have 3 different sizes, and today I'm using 2 of the sizes, the smallest one and the fattest one. Let's see, we're going to start with some watercolor paper. This is 4x6 and it's thicker and it's got a texture on it. And this is kind of the best way to add color or water because the paper is thicker. We are going to use regular basic white in a little while too. So stay tuned for that. So what I have here is just a plain old squirt bottle, spray bottle, and I just have water in here. And I like to move these out of the way. I like to spray my surface just a bit. It helps hold down the paper while I'm working. Plus, it helps it from curling because I'm going to add a whole bunch of water to this. And I know you probably won't be able to see it as well on the camera, how much water I'm adding, but hopefully you can tell by how many squirts. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use a block and we're going to use 3 colors. I've got peach pie, and of course, opening these things, the newer ones especially, are sometimes challenging. I've got summer splash. These 2 are both current in colors. And then I'm also bringing in berry burst. This is a color combination that I found in the front of the annual catalog. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up a whole block. And I'm going to, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can just, depending on how much water you have down here already, you can just put this right on your paper. But I found that, and let me show you this. I found that when I did it that way, and this is kind of the feel that I got here. So I chose to then take it, and I'm holding my spray bottle about 6 inches away from the block, and I'm giving it another squirt, so adding even more water. And then if I set this down, I'm going to let it soak there for just a sec. Grab a paper towel. You can see the color is spreading out with the water that I have down. And I just dabbed this off with my paper towel here. And I'm going to do another one. Let's do 3. Oops, this one I forgot to spray. Okay, so here's another thing I was going to try. Oh, that one's not too bad. I must have plenty of water down for this. And then I wanted to spray these because I want it to have lots of water. This is a glass mat, so I'm not worried about the water ruining my surface. You might want to have something water repellent down. And then we're going to go with another color here. And it looks like I have plenty of water, so let's just try this. I want to leave it sit there a minute because the way the first one did and how it spread out a little bit, I was hoping it would do that again. Doesn't look like it's gonna very well. All right. And then I'm gonna add some water on this one again. Yes, I'm making a mess, but that's okay. It cleans up easily. And the glass mat, if you don't have one, it comes with a chamois. You can buy the glass mat if you choose, but it comes with a chamois. So it's easy to just wipe clean everything. You can do as many colors as you want, but I feel like 3 is enough. So I'm trying to do triangles here. Whoops. Need to mess with that one. So now I'm on to the berry burst. I'm adding a little bit more water to this. And I'm gonna put this one here. And let's do it again. Add some more water. The berry burst is really dark compared to, I think, the rest of these other colors. So I didn't want to do a ton, like really, really dark, which is why I only kind of set it in there once. And then one more time. Gotta have 3 of those as well. And let's go with here. Did you see that? How it moved the yellow out of the way? That was kind of cool. All right. So then I'm going to take my beautiful paper towel here, and I'm just going to dab a little bit. I don't want to mix the colors per se, but I don't want them to run when I pick this up. So I'm going to then pick this up. There's a little yellow right there. I'm going to pick this up and then set it off to dry. So we're not going to be able to really use this particular piece until it dries, but I'm going to set it off somewhere over here. Okay. Um, and then I will show you, I did do some of these. So I will show you that here is an example. So once it was dry, I ended up cutting it in half and making a mat that was just 1/4 of an inch bigger. And then I stamped directly on the watercolor paper once it was already dry. So this is kind of fun. Then, oh, I wanted to try this too. While we're doing this, I wanted to see if I ended up spraying this with more water, if it would, now that it's dry, if it would do any more running. Let's just give that a go. See what it's going to do. I need to grab another paper towel. Hang on. Bring over the whole roll. It does seem to be running a bit, doesn't it? I'm going to pick this. It kind of didn't work the way I had hoped, but that's okay. Now we know, right? It softened it a little. Some of those lines that were in there, it did soften it a little. So I'm going to set that one back off to dry again too. Okay, so the other thing that I have is water painters. So with the water painters, you can kind of do the same thing with the water. I also have this is just a baby food jar and it's just full of water. And when I'm using my water painters, you're supposed to be able to, and you can definitely do this, but the water painters have this reservoir, the handle is full of water. You can see the bubbles in there. And this is the fat one. And in order to add water, you squeeze the handle and then the water comes out. And it works really great, except if you want to add a lot of water. I found myself squeezing a lot. So I just want to paint this whole thing with water. And so in the difference between the water that I'm applying here, oops, I forgot to add some on the bottom. There we go. just helps it from curling. Well, maybe it will down there. Anyway, the difference in the spray bottle and applying it with a brush is that the brush is going to give you a more even layer of water rather than the squirts, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our block and we're going to put this one in, and then I'm going to actually mix the water on here. And I like to start with the lightest color first, but I'm going to put the lightest color kind of in the middle. And we're just going to add it on top of the water that we already have. And then, you know what? Let's go with changing out this blue color here for a green. And the purple. I've got Moody Mauve and Garden Green for this one instead. And we're going to, there's the Moody Mauve. Here's the Garden Green. So I want a different block for each color. And I'm going to take the Moody Mauve, and I'm going to take the Garden Green. And this is just a good way to, you can also, I don't know if I did this with any of my, maybe the Garden Green, I don't remember. But we used to just take our ink pads and squish them together once they were closed, and then it would make a puddle down here. And with these newer cases, they're not as easy to squeeze. So you can see this is curling. I'm going to add some more water down here. But then I can rinse my brush in this, because technically you can keep squirting water and keep getting the ink out of the brush by squirting water and just keep brushing it back and forth. And when it's clear, when you're brushing it and it's clear, then you know your brush is clean enough to use a different color. So we're going to just keep using the same, straighten it out here, the same method. I'm going to add a little water and get this going here. And I'm going to add this on the top. I'm blending it a bit in with the yellow. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. And then I'm going to add the green on the bottom. Add a little water. If I need this, see, this looks a little not juicy enough. I'm going to squeeze this and add just a bit more water. There we go. And then we're going to put the green on the bottom. It needs more water, I think. Come on, there we go. Did you see it come out? Alrighty. I just didn't want it that dark. And I'm just covering the whole thing. And then we'll rinse this. And then I will show you an example of one of these that I did. I did it a little bit differently, but I'm going to just take my paper towel and clean up the rest of these blocks. I know there was a bunch of wasted ink on the blocks, the green and the Moody Mauve especially, but that's why I only kind of did a corner, because it doesn't make sense to put a ton of ink on there when you're not going to use it all. So let's move these out of the way. I'm going to clean this off. Paper towel, get it all dried up, and move this one off to dry. And what other colors? All right, so I'm going to, let's just leave those out. I'm going to show you how to, I think I just need these two colors now. A little of this one and a little of this one. And instead of using the watercolor paper, I'm going to bring in one of these, and I'm going to show you a couple different techniques. So we're going to use Memento ink. I probably should have done this ahead of time. but I didn't. So I'm going to use Memento ink and put a butterfly here and a butterfly here and one more. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to color these in. So let's let that dry for a minute and close some stuff up while so I don't stick my hand in it. We're going to use, instead of this big fat brush for this project, nobody said this was a clean process. Look at my fingers. I'm going to use the smallest of the water painters, and get that out of my way. So this one's just a little tip here. And so for the first one, I'm just going to paint with water. I hope this is dry. So we're going to make I'm going to add more water to this one too. There we go. You have to be careful, especially on the basic white paper. You have to be careful how much water you add or don't add, because on this thin paper, it's going to curl for sure. And I don't know what colors of butterflies I'm really making here, so I'm just winging it to show you kind of the technique. But the more water you add, the more it's going to curl and bubble up. And it's also going to, you can't really do a lot of good shading this way, I don't feel like. For shading, if you want to really do some shading, watercoloring might not be your best bet, but it's not for me anyway. So let's give this a little zhuzh in there, and let's get a little green. Like I said, these aren't really necessarily colors for butterfly, but you'll get the idea what I'm trying to accomplish here. So there's that. All right. So that's with a water painter and just ink. Let's see. We also have blender pens. So the blender pens, they come 3 in a pack. They are double-sided, so double ends. They have the same tip on both sides, and it doesn't matter which side you use. What you'll do to clean it, I'll show you in a sec. You know what? Let's use different colors. I don't like these colors for this. I got some pretty colors out, actually. Let's use them. Put away the green, put away the mauve. I like the peach. Not sure exactly if we'll use that or not, but we can. Let's keep out the summer splash. Moody Mauve's going away. And I wanted some blues and purples. So let's try this. All right, so you can color directly on with the ink. You can also color directly on with the ink and a blender pen. And all I'm going to do is, you can pick up the ink right from the pad, or you can put it on a block first. And let's see, what colors are we going to have here. And then you can paint on with this. Again, shading isn't my friend for using this method. Maybe it'll work better for you, but let's see. That's kind of what we're getting with this one. And you just keep adding ink. And then when you're finished using this tip, then you will just, kind of like the water painter. This one didn't work very well. With the water painter, you just take and pull this through until it comes out with no ink on it anymore. And I'm just twisting as I'm pulling, dragging. And then once it's clear, I'm ready to put it into a different color. So let's try, let's try this other blue. This will be fun. A couple blues, yeah, we'll see. All right, let's try blueberry bushel. And let's make, I know I'm kind of trying to go fast here, so my coloring skills usually aren't this bad. But because I'm trying to be fast, let's put purple at the bottom. How about that? I didn't try these color combinations before, so kind of winging it. Let's do blue at the top. And you can see, without re-inking here, my blue's getting lighter. So for demonstration purposes, let's leave it like that. All right, come on, get out. Okay. And then Highland Heather. Use a little purple. Let's start down here. See how dark it is first. Ooh, not too bad. Kind of pretty. It's a light purple compared to the darkness of that blueberry bushel. Feels like I need to keep adding more ink. You can keep adding ink, although I caution you that the more ink, the more times you rub over this basic white paper with your blender pen, the paper will start to like ball up, when you get water on a paper and then it starts to kind of shred. Yeah, it does that. I did that already while I was practicing. I don't know what the fluid is that's in here, but whatever it is magical. These things last practically forever. I think I've had them for a very long time, several years. All right, so then the next thing we're going to try is watercolor pencils. Let me get my ink out of the way here. And with these butterflies, what I can do, you can put them all on one like this. And then I was planning to just cut them out depending on how they come out. And then with the watercolor pencils, let's see, I'm going to color a couple different, use one of these and maybe one of these. Okay, so let's do blue on the outside. And I'm just coloring, and I don't have to, you can just use the watercolor pencils like a pencil if you wanted to. I'm going to kind of give it I wanted it kind of to be dark. So the darker you make the pencil, the darker concentration your color is going to be in the whole project. Let's go with another one here. Okay, let's try that and see. And then we'll bring in a purple. My colors are a little on the older side. So this one is technically called Rich Razzleberry, which is a retired color now. But these watercolor pencils, you can get in several, there's two different colors. One has like the boldest colors in it, and it's got the like three, I think. Yeah, the gray, the black, and the white in it. Gray, black, and white. And then, and kind of the bold color scheme. And then the other one doesn't have those neutral colors in it at all. So there are fewer. The price points are, they coordinate with how many pencils you actually get. Okay, so once we have them colored in, then we can use a blender pen. I'm going to use a blender pen on one side, and then we'll use a water painter on the other. So let's see, let's go with this on this side because let's do purple first. And then this sort of just blends those lines, like the coloring lines, it blends them out. Oops, I wasn't going to do that one. Let's do blue. See how it's blending the color of the pencil, and so it's blending out those pencil mark lines, and it's also creating a little bit deeper color, right? You're going to get kind of the same idea with the water painter. To see how much water is on here, it might not be enough. Let's do the purple first. And again, this is kind of taking out the lines. I don't feel like I have as much control with this one because the tip is longer. So I'm trying very carefully to stay in the lines here. And I don't have very much water. I haven't even squirted this yet. So I'm using very little water with this technique here. You can always do a little squirt, but then you might want to make sure on your paper towel or a grid paper or something how much water you really have coming out of there, because if it's too watery, it's going to make a big mess. All right, so there's that one. And I ended up, here is an example of what I did with that. So in this particular example, I used blender pens and kind of see what we did with all of these things. You can't even see them all in there. They're not even all in the frame. That's all right. You get the idea. Lots of different options for watercoloring, as you can tell. I'd love to hear some feedback on if you have new ways to do it other than what I've shown you, or if you try these ways. I'd love to hear your results and if you like it or don't like it. The watercolor paper is very thick, and it needs to be in order to hold the water. And it curls, but you can always like flatten it back out to then use on your projects. Just make sure you use enough adhesive. I know I don't like to use a lot of adhesive on my regular cardstock and my basic white, especially. It's pretty thin. But on the watercolor paper, I use more adhesive on there to get it to stick to the project better, especially because it's textured too. So it'll help it stick if you use a little more than maybe, unless you're a heavy-handed adhesive user anyway, you're probably good then. All right, so if you are local to the Cedar Springs, Grand Rapids area, we would love to have you join one of our in-person classes. Best way for you to find out what the schedule looks like, it's usually the third Monday of every month, but the best way for you to find out all of the details is in the newsletter. I do also put it on Facebook. I have an event created on Facebook, which then I have links because I have a 3 o'clock session and a 6 o'clock session, both on the same day. But the links will take you to my demonstrator website on Stampin' Up! In order for you to register. So just be aware that it'll redirect you. And I can only fit 6 people around my kitchen table, so there's a limit. Not that we don't want you, but hopefully having the 2 different time options, you'll find one that works best for you. I guess that's it. Next week, watch for our new monthly sketch. And until next time,